Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying what we can conjure up. I could conjure up another one. And no pun intended, Tom Mason, just glad here to have you. You are involved in our community in so many ways over so many years and have done so many good things. And I can't do it justice, so I'm going to let you. What are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about, I'm going to read his chest, Disability Rights and Resource Center, Tom Mason, Executive Director. Now, hey, what can I tell you?
The Disability Rights and Resource Center, or as we like to call it, the DRRC, is a center for independent living. We are one of 17 in the state of Virginia. A Center for Independent Living is a center that works with people with disabilities, all people with disabilities, all disabilities. And we work with them to help them achieve and then maintain independence. We want to see people with disabilities as unrestricted, living a life like you and me, going to places and restaurants and movies and this kind of thing as much as possible. And in order to do that, oftentimes people with disabilities need an advocate. And that's what we try to be.
Wonderful, wonderful, perfect. Yeah. Oh, Tom, that was a mouthful. I really appreciate that happening and the carry forth of it. Right. Can you conjure up some kind of an example of?
Sure.
We're not going to name names and places, but someone that has need in that particular area that maybe. I would venture to say there's a lot of people don't know that you exist.
Very true.
And not you, but the organization, what it does.
Very true.
And they are kind of whiling away their time at home.
Right. We concentrate on 5 core services. One being advocacy, one being independent living skills training, one being peer counseling, the distribution of information and referral, and then transition services. And some examples of some of those: advocacy, for example, if a person was in a wheelchair for whatever reason, spinal cord injury or spina bifida or cerebral palsy, and they were not able to go to a certain restaurant because either A, they did not have an entrance that was accessible by wheelchair, or the restroom was not built in order to accommodate a wheelchair, then they could contact us and we would talk to the restaurant and just advise them that someone had expressed an interest in attending to their restaurant, eating at their restaurant.
Okay.
But
wanting to spend some money.
Wanting to spend some money.
However.
But they couldn't because they could not get in or the bathrooms weren't situated for them. Now that's an advocacy. Independent living skills training. We work with people, particularly in that case, if a person was in an accident and now they were confined to a wheelchair, or they were confined to a walker, or they had a severe brain injury or whatnot, we would work with them to help them develop skills that would enable them to live independent of, and not have to be in a nursing home or in a
any kind of a facility.
Yeah, facility. Thank you. We teach classes. We work with businesses. We hold seminars on the Americans with Disability Act, what the laws say, We work with doing home modifications for people. Probably our biggest call and need is for people who need access to their homes via a ramp. They need a ramp built because they're now in a wheelchair or they're in a walker. They need to have modifications made in their bathrooms. They need a raised toilet seat. They need grab bars. They need doors widened. And so they come to us.
This, wait a minute, excuse me, this is what you're referring to as a transition.
Well, this is not a transition. This
Taking a person from being in this position to
Correct.
being able to function.
Correct.
And function, stop me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the big deal is to function somewhat independently.
Definitely independent.
All right, well that's the nice part. And when we have spoken before and when I've been following this, when one gets white hair, when one gets a little bit older.
Yes.
This is not me talking about him or him talking about me, although we both qualify. But when this happens, it's an area that you probably don't really think much about because you're never going to be like that.
That's true.
Or at least in your mind, hey, I'm going to go on forever. But you are finding, and the organization is finding, that there are people, great folks, that just don't know or get stuck for one reason or another in moving forward.
15,000 in Franklin County alone.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. That's a real
are classified as a disability. And I understand a disability could be anything from severe brain injury, spina bifida, we've talked about these things, cerebral palsy, but they could also be a learning disability. We call them intellectual disabilities, or ID, developmental disabilities. It could be Alzheimer's. My mother had Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's is definitely a disability. So they're all kinds of disabilities, and we try to deal with every one of them that we can. The thing about our organization is that we can only make ourselves known. We cannot interject. For example, if I saw somebody going down the street and realized that they had a disability, I could not approach that person and say, hey, we can help. We have to be invited because we receive funds from the state of Virginia and the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. We receive a grant. So we are somewhat restricted into how we let people know we're here, which is one of the reasons that I'm here today. Is to let people know that we are here. Our services are free. Sometimes we will refer them to another agency that can help them. Sometimes we help them directly. But for someone who spent most of his life really not knowing about the disability community and how it works.
Tell the story. I'm with you. I'm with you. It hit me, running a bank in Franklin County for many years, and my office was upstairs. And there was a interesting stairway. And my first view of it were some people that I knew very well. At one point, somebody says, I need to talk to you, but I can't. There was no elevator. Beautiful building, beautiful stairway. And so, God bless Susan Eggleton, my Tonto, my right hand. They'd contact her, and I'd go downstairs, or I'd have to. There's an accommodation that people need that they don't know about that would make life I'm trying to think of the right word, bearable, that would make,
Right.
is that a fair statement?
It is. It is. And an interesting thing that I have found out since I've been a part of this, and our name, Disability Rights and Resource Center, Disability Rights, we do advocate for rights for disabilities. It is a civil right, much the same as race and other things. However, we are not here to, we are not an enforcer. We are someone that works to the benefit of. And an example of how we would work with a business. The law, Americans with Disability Act, most businesses, most companies think that it is just, it's another infringement by the federal government to force them to do things. That's not true. What the law says is that you have to make a reasonable accommodation to facilitate people with disabilities. Reasonable accommodation is a key word here. If it's going to bear unreasonable costs or significant structural changes to the integrity of a building, or so, we try to find ways to get around it. There are a lot of old historical buildings, for example, that we don't want to change the structural integrity of that building. But a post office, for example, a lot of the old post office buildings have a series of steps. People can't get up those steps. But the building is old. It has historical significance. It was built pre-1940s and whatnot. You don't want to destroy the structural integrity of that building. So we try to work with them to make reasonable accommodation that people can do business with the post office. What post office wants to have the reputation of not wanting to do business with people in the community that they represent? So it may be through attaching a ramp. It may be through having an employee that goes outside and helps transact business for
How do
people who can't get inside.
I'm with you. Boy, am I with you, 100%. But how do people come to the conclusion that it's needed? In other words, you're a business person. You have been a business person in this community.
Right.
And you know what I'm talking about. And you have a place of business.
Right.
And when you are moving along, taking care of business, running a place, and it doesn't really, if it doesn't fit you, or if you haven't encountered it, or if you don't have a faithful employee that has had need, or somebody in your family, it just doesn't show up.
Right.
Until somebody comes to you, and then you have to fill in the blanks to say, because you know there's a lot of good heads, a lot of good experience, a lot of good people out there doing things in spite of having some kind of a disability.
Oh boy, you got that right.
And to be cut off, are we saying that's, ladies and gentlemen, is a constitutional right, you know, I'm not going there, but it's virtually, how can that be that on one day, all of a sudden you cease to be able to do that which you've done for 50 years, and yet you have every facility between your ears up there that says, I can still do this, and you'd be very good at it, but because there's an ailment or a problem.
I've got a classic example.
All right.
I have
Lay it on
a person that works for me, an absolutely wonderful woman. She is not just beautiful outside, she is beautiful inside. 15 years ago, she was in a motorcycle accident, broke her back, broke her spine. Her spine is pretty much nothing but titanium now, and she is a paraplegic in a wheelchair, confined to a wheelchair. But this woman has a doctorate in education. She serves on numerous boards throughout the state, including the Governor's Commission, having to do with people with disabilities. She, for the Disability Rights and Resource Center, she travels our entire catchment area, helping people understand what is available to them. I mean, this person, she drives her own vehicle. She is absolutely amazing. But one day she was as normal as you and me, and the next day she was in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. Now, I say for the rest of her life, we all firmly believe that she's going to walk again.
Yep.
And we've seen some incredible improvement just in the 14 months that we've been together. But all of a sudden, she is in a situation where she cannot access places like she used to.
Right.
And so what are the reasonable accommodations that people can give her? She cannot be refused a job that she is otherwise qualified for just because she's in a wheelchair.
Right.
But like us, when we used to own Virginia Apparel, we never thought about people in wheelchairs being sewing operators. And so what happens is when you are faced as a business, when you're faced suddenly with someone who's really qualified to work for you, but they have this impairment, then reasonable accommodation. What can we do as a company to enhance the job opportunity for this individual? Well, you can start by widening your doors. You can start by putting in a ramp. You can start by giving them a workplace that is accessible, their wheelchair. And then you can continue as you go on. It's a learning process. It's something that...
But as a business person, you are creating something that will benefit the business, because you've got somebody that up till that moment, because of whatever you want to call it, kind of disability.
Right.
And yet with all the ability in the world, but because of the disability, they're on the outside.
Right.
And I that's blunt, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't mean to point at companies, nor am I going to name any companies, but they stop. And this is a vital person that has been very much involved up till now. And what you're saying is that there's no reason for that person to not continue to be involved. There are some accommodations, but I think you will find the extra special value in dealing with somebody like that really makes it all worthwhile.
No question.
Yeah,
no question.
That's astounding. Yeah, Tom, and I appreciate you explaining it in real words, like this is what I did, and this is I'd hear I'm talking about being a banker, but that happens, and that's where you get your reasons.
Right. Right. Now, you can go to our website. We've got a great, beautiful website at www.drrcva.org.
Give me that one again.
www.drrcva, or for Andre over there, it would be Delta Romeo Romeo Charlie Victor Alpha, dot Oscar Romeo. What can you say?
I really have nothing to say.
Okay. That's military code.
Another kind of a disability we're experiencing. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
And he's a friend.
Yeah.
Hello, your friend, my friend.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, it's DRRC, www.drrcva.org. And Gosh, Andre, you made me lose my train of thought over there. But we have pictures of some ramps that we have built. We will continue to add pictures of things. We're also on Facebook of things that we do. We have videos that people can look at of the impact that people with disabilities can have on the community.
Well, there's a big one right there. That's something, you don't dry up and go away and do nothing.
Right.
You are a vital person that has to make an adjustment, or the people you're dealing with have to make a slight adjustment. It's not an adjustment that's going to cost you a fortune. It's not an adjustment that's going to throw your business off or create something. It's going to be an adjustment that is beneficial both ways.
All the way around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and we have so much to learn from people with disabilities about overcoming. One of the, we just had a staff retreat, and one of the new taglines that we have adopted and we'll start putting with our logo and everything is called Rising Above Expectations. People with disabilities have the same things to offer that you and I have. They just have to do it in a little different way.
You sound like a person that has seen the light, you might say, getting involved in this now. I mean, that's an exaggeration a little bit, you know, because that's usually a religious comment, but you were an employer, you were involved in management, you were involved in a business, and all of a sudden you're seeing something that opens your eyes and you're dealing with it.
It's, well, when people ask, this is the best job I've ever had.
Okay.
Including owning my own business. It is the most rewarding, it is the most humbling thing that I've ever done. Just watching everyday people do incredible things.
Right.
Just because they want to be treated as equals.
Amen. How can the people that have not had the misfortune, have not had the negative, have not had whatever you want to call it, folks, where they are functioning perfectly normally, how can somebody help? How can somebody be involved? Or how can a business person that owns a business that is missing a group that they could hire, what's the best way to be into this?
Well,
and I'm citing you on that because you very forthrightly said, I didn't know and I didn't really pay attention, and now all of a sudden, you know, it's like you said, oh, the sky's open and the sun shines. But this is an amazing story.
Well, it is, and as I said, it is akin to the civil rights movement. You know, that you had the disability rights movement that started in the late '60s and stuff, and what you have to understand is, yes, these are people whose brains function just as well as anybody's, whose hands and you know, maybe they can't walk, or maybe they can't move their hands, but they can still think, they can talk, they can whatever, and they're normal. I mean, part of their body doesn't work. So what? A lot of people would say part of my body doesn't work, i.e. the brain. But
been there, done that.
You know, that notwithstanding, you know, they are very capable. So what could be done is we will be, and we'll talk more about this in coming days, where we are putting together our calendar of events for the coming year, where we will need volunteers. Volunteer. Call us up right now and just say, you know, if you have something, I want to volunteer.
Wow.
Businesses, call us up, ask us, what do we need to be doing in our business to be more accessible? We'll come in there free of charge. We'll talk to you. We can show you things that you could do different. We are not the police. We are not going to come in and threaten to shut you down. We are not going to do any of this. We want to be your partner. We want people to partner with us so that we can make our entire community a whole lot more accessible to people with disabilities.
I'll tell you, Tom, you tell a real neat story, and it's especially strong because you've lived it.
You know,
you
yes.
don't have an opportunity, and then all of a sudden you're presented an opportunity. You ran a business, I ran a business, we all did it, we enjoyed it. We worked, I don't know how, but we worked 125 hours a week to make it work. I have no idea where that comes from, but that, you know, you do what you have to do, and you enjoy it. It provides you with a living, perhaps a very good living. And then all of a sudden you find an area that nobody's really giving, I can't say nobody's paying attention to. Sure, there's a lot of attention being given to it, but it still lacks an understanding.
Right.
This person can do this, but I can't use this person because speed, because of an accommodation I may have to make or something like that. But lo and behold, when you do get to the point of opening your eyes, all of you, and putting this person's capabilities to work for the improvement of wherever you are, you find, wow.
Right.
And you want to talk about gratitude that people have when that happens. It's an emotional thing. It goes from being a business decision, it goes from being, gee, maybe I ought to. How many times do you say, you know, yeah, okay, give me a shot, I'll take care of that. You know, I can do that, yeah, sure. But all of a sudden, you are a part of something, and I know this man has undergone that kind of feeling. I have, and it's amazing. It's just an amazing, and you have the opportunity to be thankful that, except by the grace of God, there go I.
Right.
But then I can still do something, and then when I do something, it makes somebody else have a much better life.
Absolutely.
At the end.
Another story real quick. The reigning Miss Wheelchair Virginia, and there is a contest, Miss Wheelchair Virginia.
Yeah. We had her in here.
Oh, did you have?
She was on the air. We've been on 2 or 3 times. And, you know, accommodations, again, were made, those big double doors to
Right.
get that in and so forth.
Right.
The wheelchair. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, the reigning is beautiful. She's a beautiful girl, but she has cerebral palsy. She's been in a wheelchair all of her life. She has very limited movement in her limbs, and her speech is very difficult to understand. But through technology, she speaks electronically. She has a gizmo. I'm learning that. You know what, but it translates her. And she has somebody that works with her that does a lot of typing, but she is able to speak even though she has cerebral palsy. She has a master's degree. And I've got to say that the girl that works for me, the beautiful lady that works for me, is a former Miss Wheelchair Virginia. And she's got a doctorate degree in education. And one of the things that in working with some of the state agencies, they say, we don't want pity. And I try not to pity, but I cannot help the admiration that I have.
Yes. Yes.
And, you know, but they say we don't want pity, we just want opportunity.
What can the average person do? Where are we going? What is something that people may be just learning a little bit more this morning? And, you know, and I've had Miss Wheelchair in here half a dozen times.
Right.
And it was wonderful. But how can we participate?
Well, if you encounter somebody in a wheelchair or with a disability, number one, treat them like they would treat you or me. You know, just, is it wrong to offer help? No, because that's human nature. You know, is there something I can do to help you? And if they say no, respect that.
Right.
Because they have learned to do things on their own. And they just want you to respect that, okay, you may walk, I roll, or something like that. Be cognizant of the fact that there are some areas that even they may not be able to. There are areas where you may be able to help. But the main thing is that I see is they're just like you and me for the most part, and they desire to be treated that way, and they desire to be included. People with disabilities, well, probably half the people with disabilities, you wouldn't even be aware that they had a disability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only the ones with the most severe disabilities are obvious, but I guarantee you come in contact, probably 20% of the people you come in contact with every day have some sort of disability. So
Wow.
just, I mean.
How can we as Cable 12, Neighborhood Network, how can we be involved here? We need to be more forward with it. We have accommodated when necessary and didn't worry about it, just went ahead and did it. And but I have a feeling like there are, and it's a hard thing to pin down because nobody wants the help, yet there is help needed. And there's, and maybe it's wrong to say nobody wants it. Yes, of course they want it. But the idea of being able to deal one-on-one and deal perfectly normally, easily, just like you would with somebody that did not have a disability.
Right.
So it's very difficult, but you've come in contact with it. Individual living training, transportation, all the things you've talked about. What is it that people can do?
I'm glad you brought up transportation.
Right.
Transportation is the single biggest issue we have, not just in Franklin County, but in Henry County, Pittsylvania County, and Patrick County, where we also have offices. Getting people to their doctor's appointments, the grocery store. You don't think about with some of these people cannot even get out to get to the grocery store. So they have to depend, because there is no public transportation in Franklin County, there is no Uber, there's no nothing. And some of these people live in pretty rural areas. So if you are a friend, if you know someone with a disability, the one area you may be able to help them is transportation. If you're going to the grocery store, take them along. Give them an opportunity to buy their groceries at the same time. If you are going to be running errands, offer to do things for them if they can't get out. Be a friend. I mean, that's, and you'd be amazed, sad to say, the number of family members who won't offer to take their mom or dad or brother.
How'd you get involved? Can I ask that
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, sure. I retired on a Friday.
Oh, I'm sure glad you're retired doing nothing these days,
Yeah.
Tom.
I retired on a Friday, but I knew that I would, gosh, this was back in May, April or May of 2014. And, but I knew I wanted to do something, part-time or whatever, just to stay busy. And so I came home on Friday. Sunday, I picked up the Roanoke Times Sunday paper, and I looked in there, and there was this one ad for a executive director. And I always thought I'd make a good executive director. You know,
If you do say so yourself.
if I do say so myself. And so I applied. And got an interview down here in Rocky Mount. And of course, I was excited about coming back to Rocky Mount, where I spent 30 years. And was real interesting because I was real honest and upfront with the board that you know, I had limited experience working with people with disabilities. And you know, they said, that's okay. We have people on board that know how to work with people with disabilities. We're looking for a manager who can put this whole thing together, who can run and manage other individuals and stuff. So they must have liked me. I got the job. I started in June of 2014. We officially opened our office here in Rocky Mount on September 1st of 2014. We have an office in Danville. We have an office in Martinsville. I have another individual that works for us that works out of her home. We started with 3 employees. We now have 6. We're doing great things. We've got a long way to go. But like I say, I had no idea. I just had no idea. And when I say this is the most fun job I've ever had, it truly is.
But who would have thunk it, you know? You just don't, you know, it's, you kind of look, say, maybe the good Lord is directing, you know, maybe who knows what's going on.
In my case, I don't think there's any question that he is directing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know, I know he knows my heart. And he has put me in a place that allows me to fulfill my heart in a way that I never dreamed possible.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a neat story. It's a neat situation. And is there people that are hearing this, what's the best approach to try to get yourself involved?
Call. Our office number is 540-482-0752. Or you can reach us via email at info@drrcva.org. Right. Contact us, and we'll take it from there.
So, but there is a need.
There is a need. There is a need for volunteers. There is a need for personal assistance services. There is a need for driving, personal assistant, including helping people to the market and to their doctor's appointments. There is a need for volunteers. There is a need. Everywhere you turn around, there is a need. There is a need financially. I wasn't going to talk about money, but the grant we have from the state only pays for our operating expenses. Any money we spend on the benefit of the consumer, we have to raise.
Wow.
You can go to our website and donate. $1, $5, $10, who cares? You know, we just need
individual living training.
individual, we call it independent living skills training.
Independent living skills training. Okay, now, that'd be a good one. Now, I wrote this down twice, DRRC or DRC?
DRRC.
DRRCVA.org. Okay. All right. Somebody could call me, and I'm perfectly happy to give you this information. 482-0752 is a good phone number to assist. I would offer that you want to feel good, you want to do something worthwhile, however you want to put it, if you have the time. And that happens to be people that are most likely retired, most likely, or somebody with a disability. Something like that, I think you could turn, my involvement in things of that nature kind of turns my head too, and I end up being better off for it.
Right.
And I know that it has that effect on you too.
I think anybody, almost virtually everybody out there, has a giving spirit somewhere inside.
Yeah.
And anytime, whether it's to people with disabilities or whether it's to the homeless, or it doesn't matter, there are needs out there. And you just got to have a giving spirit and a willing spirit. And
boy, and I'll tell you, because as you said, there is a reason, there is a need. We got to do this. If you can work out a schedule, if you can work out a plan,
okay,
where once, twice a month, however, whenever, whatever, somebody should come down here, and we should talk about it and how. I mean, we deal with so many not-for-profit, if I can,
right,
organization that someone is not aware, the average person is not aware of the value that organization is having.
right.
And we need to make that an awareness thing.
And we all work together. You mentioned Sam and his good hands. We refer people. We are not. I mean, somebody could call us and say, "Well, I need help making my electric bill." That's not who we are. But we work and partner with all the agencies that would help in something like that. So we would refer them to.
You can make contact or you can direct them.
Right.
Yeah, all right.
Right.
Tom, is there anything else we need to talk about? I want to do this again if I can. We've met before, we've talked, we've been down the road. Our backgrounds are in some respects similar, and especially as running a business and then deciding not to, and now running yet again something else that maybe 10 years ago you would have said, huh?
Yeah.
Me do what? You know? But
Right.
Yet there's a lot of other people out there that either have a need or that would like to do something and don't know where. And there's a bashfulness to it also. Do I really?
I think so. I think you're right. I think people are hesitant because they doubt their ability to work in certain situations, but they can. Well, we want to. What we would like to do is to work with you all so that we're on at least once a month and we talk about things that are upcoming.
Okay.
I would love for you all to meet my staff and have some of them on here as opposed to me, because they can tell the story a whole lot better than I can.
You ain't bad, you know.
I'm okay.
I can deal with it.
But you know, I've got two great independent living coordinators that they work one-on-one with the consumers, and they are just dynamite. Man, they are so good at what they. You know, as managers, we always dream of having the dream team staff. I have got the dream team staff.
Okay.
I have got it. We are good
nice.
and it's really neat. So I'd like some of them to come on and share their feelings and opportunities as well.
All right. I'm going to, this number, 4820752.
Yes,
That's
sir.
a 540 number, 4820752. And DRRCVA.org.
Right.
The Disability Rights and Resource Center. I'm reading his badge now. And it doesn't give him credit for running any kind of a business like he used to, but maybe I'm hearing this is a great thing to be doing now.
It is.
Right?
What a way to, I mean, and this is
Yeah.
the last thing I will ever do. The neat thing about it is there's no time limit.
Yeah.
I can stay at it as long as I'm capable. Right.
So it's quite amazing.
It is.
All right, well, let's work together a little bit. Let's try to plan. Let's try to get some folks in here. Let's get if it's boils down to an awareness.
Mm-hmm.
An awareness of the need and an awareness of the finances and an awareness of what we can do, whether we're retired or whether we're actively
Right.
employed. And there is a need out there. And
There
there's
is.
no question that it needs to be supported.
Right. And we're going to do some neat things. We're going to do some exciting things during the year. We'll have a golf tournament. In the spring, we're working on a 5K combined with a chili cook-off, combined with some bluegrass music that we're going to do down in Henry County in the fall. We're talking about doing some things with the Y that are going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, we've got a lot of neat, exciting plans that we're working on that we'll talk more about in the next month or so.
There is a need, though.
There is a need.
And we can ask people to participate.
And I want to say there is not just a need. There is a need. People with disabilities have needs that we can help them meet.
Okay.
And that is just as important
Yep.
a message to get out as the need for volunteer help or financial help or whatever. Probably more important that people with disabilities, and I'm talking any kind of disability, any individual, any kind of a disability, we are here to help you, and it's all free.
Yeah. All right. Tom, thanks for coming in.
I appreciate it, Dick.
Yeah, it's
really,
real
a whole
good to
lot.
talk about it and deal with it. And we're going to try to follow up on this a little bit and maybe do a couple of other things and then get a regular involvement that
Right.
says this is, what we need to do to help.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to ask a question. What in the world is Andre Perry doing wandering around the studio?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
The weather station has arrived.
He may be chasing me because I wasn't at Rotary yesterday.
Did you do a makeup?
Do you
Not
have?
yet.
I'm talking off camera, folks, but I realize we're on.
I don't need a mic.
You don't need. Ha ha ha. All right.
I'll get out of his way.
What is there something I can do for you, or are you just here to?
The weather station has arrived.
All right. We are. Thank you, Steve. We are about to end the show, and I just want to say thank you to Tom. We're going to take a break. We're not going to end the show now.
Okay.
One never knows. But this is your neighborhood network. I'm glad to be here. I'm proud to be here. And I don't mind these things happening. Now, there's some weird folks out there, though, but we're going to take care of them. I don't know.
Pretty strange, don't you think?
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Please stay where you are. We're going to leave now. Thank you,
Appreciate it,
sir,
Dick.
for coming in. And
Appreciate it a
good
lot.
to see you again.
Nice to see you.
And we'll work a few things out here. So
Okay.
the word, I think, is awareness.
Right.
And the thing that you don't think you can do, you really can.
You really can.
Whether you're a recipient or you're a provider.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
And thanks for what you do.
Well, thank you. It's a privilege. Trust me.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
All right. Please stay where you are. We will be back after these next words from our sponsors.